Hello, it's 9 p.m. in Art. This time to English New Edition for tonight headlines. We have the President of the Republic receiving the President of the Court of Audit and Budget Discipline. Africa to drive global population growth by 2013. Welcome to our newsroom. The President of the Republic receives the General Annual Report 2021 of the Court of Account and Budgetary Discipline. The Head of State, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, received this Thursday late mornings at the Palace of the Republic the General Annual Report 2021 of the Court of Account and Budgetary Discipline, handed by the president of this institution, Mrs. Mahan Ibrahim Mahmoud, accompanied by her main collaborators. The handing over of the annual report of the Court of Account and Budgetary Discipline to the President of the Republic is a legal obligation of the institution, which is then required to send it to the National Assembly before making it available to the general public. The audience with the President Guelleh served as usual as a framework for the official of the Court of Account to make a brief inventory of the content of the report submitted. It also served as a platform for exchanges on the adoptions of procedural techniques of ethics and actions that are likely to increase the vocations of our country to reconcile the most demanding practices in terms of financial transparency and control of state funds. The president of the Account and Budgetary Discipline institution, Ismahan Ibrahim Mahmoud, said that in an interview, this institution is created under the direct impulse of the President of the Republic. The Court of Account and Budgetary Discipline of Djibouti participate in the same way as institutions militating in the same direction as in the development of the concept of good governance in our country. Created in 2006, especially acquired the increasing speed characterizing it today after a process of revitalization of its mission is developed in 2016. In accordance with the Article 34 and 52 of the Constitutions of the National Assembly, clauses this Thursday, July 14, 2022, the special sessions of the Parliament. This closing session was chaired by the President of the National Assembly, His Excellency Mohammed Ali Ahmed. The plenary, in the presence of the Prime Minister, His Excellency Abdul Qadir Kamel Mohammed, parliamentarian member of government. The agenda of the plenary included the examinations of 7 standards as follows. A bill on the ratifications by the Republic of Djibouti of the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocols on substances that deplete the ozone layer, bill on the ratifications of the financing agreement for the development of skills for employment project, a bill on the ratification of the financing agreement for the Ethiopia-Djibouti second electricity interconnection line project, the bill on the economic and financial control of public enterprises, bill on the organizations of the Ministry of Youth and Culture, draft law on the revisions of law on the reorganization of the Ministry of Energy in charge of natural resources, draft law, the attribution and organizations and functioning of the Ministry in charge of digital economy and innovation through the exchanges of this plenary. The Member of Parliament have essentially brought their questions on the texts of the above-mentioned agenda, but also on the worrying problems of the population, to which the Prime Ministers and the Member of Government have brought elements of answer. At the end of the discussion is after the favorable vote of the parliamentarian, the President of the National Assembly, Mohamed Ali Mohamed, closed the extraordinary session. The Member of Parliament Ibrahim Ahmed Abdou asked the Member of Government, particularly the Minister of Labour, questions about employment and job creations and vocational training for young people in Djibouti, and Djibouti Youth Creation Company would like you to give us an overview of the government project on youth vocational training. For his part, the Member of Parliament Ali Zaid Shadli asked the questions from the Youth and Culture Ministers about the coordination of the Sport Secretariat, and said that it is now clear that each is working separately, but cooperation is needed as both the Youth and the Sports Department are connected. The Member of Parliament Hussein Mohammed Ali also briefed the energy ministers on the renewable energy programs and detailed the government's effort to renew the renewable energy. He also asked how there is enough electricity for the Ethiopian people who came to our country this summer when there is a great need for electricity, and what is the solutions for the Minister of Energy, said the Member of Parliament Hussein Mohammed Ali. Responding to the questions from the Member of Parliament, the Minister of Labour underlined Omar Abdi Said underlined first and foremost the protections of special skills for the untouchable people of Djibouti. One of the most important change in our countries is the expansions of the various skills that the people of Djibouti have today, which are beyond the reach of foreigners. For his part, the Minister of Sport, the Minister of Youth also pointed out the Minister of Youth pointed out the cooperation and collaboration with the Government Secretary of Sport, which can be seen in the centers of social development. For his part, the Minister of Energy, in response to a question from the Member of Parliament Hussein Mohammed Ali, said that the government had made great efforts to expand electricity and meet the country's electricity needs. Despite the many energy production projects, we are still able to complete the second lines of electricity in our country. The Prime Minister, His Excellency Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, also responded to the questions from the Member of Parliament, outlining the government's effort to generate renewable energy, which will soon become an important part of the country's electricity supply. The expansions of all aspects of the government's quest for fuel, energy, and responsiveness to the future of our countries reflect the government's visions for national development. He said, we are pleased to announce that the first batch of wind electricity will be available by the end of this year. The People's Palace today hosted the launch ceremony of the acceleration phase of micro and small enterprises through the Republic of Djibouti, funded by USAID and piloted by UNDP. The objective is to better promote micro and small social enterprises, the blue and green economy, and to strengthen civic engagement, financing inclusion, and investment mechanisms for the sustainable development goals. Among the enterprises selected as the first set of social enterprises included from organic farming to gym, from environmental conservation to library, and food packaging to solar energy. Some of these enterprises are new, some have already started and are operational, but impacted by COVID-19. This ceremony was attended by the Minister of Economy and Finance in charge of industry, Ilyas Musa Dawale, the Mayor of Djibouti City, Said Daoud Mohamed, the UNDP resident representative, Ms. Emma Nguong Ano, the Ambassador of the United States of America in Djibouti, Jonathan Pratt, the Minister Delegate in charge of Digital Economy and Innovation, Mariam Hamadou Ali. As a reminder, it was in 2020 that the UNDP, under the directions of the Minister of Economy, in charges of industry had designated a portfolio of socio-economic recovery COVID-19. The objective of this portfolio, Rising Djibouti portfolio, was to help Djibouti build a better future by promoting micro and small social enterprises, the blue and green energy economy, and strengthening civic engagement for decentralization, inclusive finance, and sustainable development goals, investment mechanisms. Implementation of Rising Djibouti activity began in the first quarters of 2021 with the pottery trainings and several other leadership trainings for civil society organizations. The UNDP representative, Ms. Emma Ngong Ano, said for her part that this is a great honor for me to join you today at the launch of this project, which is accelerating the for 15 small community company called Rising Djibouti. First of all, I congratulate the Minister of Economy and Finance on the activity of the Rising programs in Djibouti. This is a project that is beneficial for all small and small companies, and it is please note that young people always show their efficiency and ability, which is honorable to their countries and society. You young people who have benefited from this project should also be an example to other young people, so that they should also show their effects on working on their own self. The U.S. ambassador to Djibouti, Jonathan Pratt, said that in his speech that I am very happy for you to take actions today in the launch of the implementation of the 15 business companies. This project is completely important for a small community in the Midas communities to strengthen the participation in the goal of a long-term development. The project also helps small and middle companies to recover from COVID-19 disease in the world. These 50 companies, their companies here are also given different trainings with their opportunities and get more support. The Minister of Finance, Ilyas Musa Dawale, said that for his part that this project is completely important for small communities in the Midas community to strengthen the participation in the goal of a long-term development. The project also helps small and middle companies to recover from COVID-19 disease in the world. Within the framework of the voluntary national review of 2030 Agenda Sustainable Development Goals, better known as SDG, an important delegation led by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, took part in the high-level political forum which took place from 5 to 15 July 2022 at the United Nations headquarters in New York. During this high-level political forum, our country presented for the first time its report to the voluntary national review on the progress and achievement of our country to the sustainable development goals. It should be emphasized that the purpose of this review is to present the current situations of the country with a review to accelerating the achievement of the sustainable development goals through the sharing of experience, the identification of gaps and good practices, the establishment of the partnerships. The findings of this report, which is the results of nearly a year national consultations, have allowed the government of Djibouti to reaffirm its unwavering commitment to ensure that no one is left behind and to promote the most inclusive participation toward the achievement of the sustainable development goals. Like their peers of guests, Djibouti pilgrims completed last Tuesday the stoning of the three Jamarat in Mina, the ritual of this year's Hajj. In this regard, the members of the Hajj missions continue their efforts to guide and supervise the pilgrims from the Republic of Djibouti, whose total numbers this year is about 1,000 pilgrims. The Minister of Muslim Affairs and Waqf has taken all the necessary measures to enable the Djiboutian pilgrims to fully accomplish this religious duty. After performing the religious duty with the success of God Almighty, The pilgrims are now preparing to leave the Holy Land and return to their countries. For its part, the Saudi Minister of Health announced the success of health plans for this year's Hajj and that it was free of any epidemic of public health effects. Finally, it should be noted that the first wave of Djibouti pilgrims is expected to return to the countries on July 29, 2022. Olympic champion Mo Farah reveals his past. The former Olympic champion Mo Farah, the internationally renowned athlete, has made revelations about his past as a child in a program entitled The Real Mo Farah, which will be broadcast on Wednesday by the British broadcasters. The athlete claims that he had pretended to be born in Somalia and entered the United Kingdom as a refugee from Mogadishu when he was 9 years old to join his father, who was working in London, which was false. According to the Olympic stars, he said he was a victim of the persons who took him under guardianship. In other words, an English woman of Somali origin, Mo Farah, whose real name is Hussein Abdi Kahin, born in northern Somalia, was taken away at the age of 9 years, who took him to Djibouti at first. So Mo Farah has lived in Djibouti the time that the administration formalities of travel is established, according to him. This woman took him to her apartment in Hounslow in the west of the British capitals and told him that he had to start calling himself Mohammed. According to him, he had suffered abuse and was not allowed to go to school until he was 12 years old. It was at the school that he showed a talent for athletics, which he claims changed his life as he was able to complete in British schools. His sports teacher, Alan Watkinson, helped him obtain British citizenship under the name of Mo Farah, which the authorities granted him in July 2000. The athlete said he wanted to tell his story to draw attention to slavery and human trafficking. On the occasions of the celebrations of the July 14, the French ambassador made gestures of recognition to the veteran. Indeed, the veteran of their families benefited from donations of materials. In the case of wheelchairs and basic necessities were invited on to these days. The French army stationed in Djibouti, the Colonel Major Mohamed Ali Obsiya, attaché of the defense in Paris, Lieutenant Colonel Ilyas Abdullahi Gele, Defense Cabinet of the National Army, the widow and children of the veterans. The Republic of Djibouti has a long and fruitful collaboration with the French nation. This day is a concrete symbol of a bilateral relationship that unites our two nations. The Goulet Stadium has hosted this morning a ceremony of awarding trophy, balls, sports equipment to various associations of the capital and the interior regions. The granting of these balls is part of the organizations of summer tournament, newly called Summer Games, because of its expanded scope of activities. As a reminder, the tournament are organized annually by the head of the associations and leaders of the respective neighborhoods of the capital and interior regions. The prizes consist of trophy of footballs, basketballs, handballs, volleyballs, tennis balls, nets, whistles, and cheese sets, and others. The event was attended by the technical advisor to the State Secretary for Sport, the Director General of the Agency for Promotions of the National Sport, the Acting Director of Sport, the Acting Director of Regions, the Director of Goulet Stadium, and several other officials and members of the State Secretary of Sport, President and representative of sport associations. By this occasion, the Secretary of State in charge of sports, His Excellency Hassan Mohamed Kamil, want to popularize the sports of choice of Djiboutian youth in particular and world in general, that in accordance with the policy of the head of state, first supporters of the national sport. We regret to announce the death of Ali Kamil Ali, which occurred last night at the Shakib Hospital, aged 59 years. The deceased was a retired civil servant of the firefighters. Ali Kamil Ali was the paternal uncle of our colleague Madam Buha Kamil, editor-in-chief of the radio. The management and all the staff of the RTD addressed the most saddened condolence to the family of the deceased. The Almighty welcome him in his eternal paradise. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. For the international scene, United Nations for Africa, the engines of world population growth by 2050, the United Nations has published its latest world population projections. The estimates highlight the central role of the African continent in the growth of the global population by 2050. According to the UN estimates, the world populations will reach by the 8 billion marks by November 15, 2022. Despite a slowdown in population growth in recent years, this figure is expected to reach 9.7 billion by 2050. More than half of the increase will be concentrated in 8 countries, 5 of which are on the African continent: the Democratic Republic of Congo, Egypt, Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Tanzania. This population growth is explained by a decrease in mortality, which translates into an increase in life expectancy. In 2021, it was 59.7 years for the sub-Saharan African and is expected to reach 66.7 years in 2015. The football mercato, the Senegalese Kalidou Koulibaly will soon sign for Chelsea. Kalidou Koulibaly should wear the color of Chelsea. The arrivals of the Senegalese in the formations led by Thomas Tuchel would be imminent. According to the Italian press, the central defenders would leave the team of Napoli as he begins his last years of contract that binds him to the club. After 8 years, Kalidou Koulibaly has declined the proposal of extensions in addition to a 6 million euro increase of the captain's bond to turn to a new London Adventurers. Kalidou Koulibaly is announced to replace Antonio Ruggieri, who left for Real Madrid in Spain. The Blues have agreed with the Italian teams to transfer the Senegalese for 40 million euro. The footballer is expected to sign for 4 years with the British club with an annual salary close to 10 million euro. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.